Welcome to the Laverne Church of the Brethren's weekly audio message. Here at the Laverne Church of the Brethren, we create a Christian community called by Christ to be inclusive, caring, and peace-minded. We affirm that people of any race, ethnic identity, gender identity, sexual orientation, ability, age, economic status, faith tradition, or life situation are welcome in our congregation. We believe in compassionate service, stewardship of creation, respect for diversity, and nonviolent reconciliation for differences among all people, nations, and faith traditions. We claim no creed but the New Testament as exemplified by the life of Christ. We strive to follow the way of Jesus. And through these efforts, we seek to grow ever closer to the mind and heart of God. And now let us ground ourselves as we enter into today's message.
I'll be reading from Psalms 139, verses 7 to 14. Where can I go from your spirit, or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even as there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light around me become night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is as light to you. For it was you who formed my inward parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works that I know very well.
You know, I love cats, so it's always a delight for me to watch this herd of cats that we call the choir assembling. Just brings me such joy. Where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me fast. Among the most beautiful verses in the whole Bible is certainly the first 14 verses of Psalm 139. There's such a deep tenderness and wonder on display in this extraordinary affirmation of a God who is both omnipresent, always with us, everywhere, and omniscient, all-knowing of us in a way that existed before we were born and continues even when we come to our end. As the psalmist describes the depth of God's attentiveness and care for us, my heart becomes flooded with a sense of great comfort and gratitude and even peace at the thought of being so fully embraced and delicately held. This kind of knowing is far from a creepy kind of divine surveillance that is often advocated by those who would attempt to make God into a cosmic, voyeuristic police officer who uses shame and fear to control us. Instead, this is about a God who knows us intimately and rejoices in our existence. It describes a reality where our lives and God's life are inextricably woven together in ways that we will never fully understand, yet know is a sacred and wonderful gift. Alfred North Whitehead, a mathematician who was one of the founding authors of process theology, wrote, "The worship of God is not a rule of safety. It is an adventure of the spirit. a flight after the unattainable. This to me is what the psalmist is describing in his sense of wonderment and awe, a God who invites us into an adventure of the Spirit that will take us to places that we cannot yet imagine nor ever attain. After all, is this not one of the joys and exhilarations of true intimacy? That experience of being known in our fullness, the good, the bad, the hard, the joyous, the fearful and curious, the needy and generous, the loving and hurtful, all that we experience and all that we are, cherished and welcomed. Over these past several weeks in worship, we have been exploring the meaning and delights of what it means to be woven together as a community of faith, as a people who gather in trust and expectation to worship God, to serve our neighbors, to struggle for justice, and to offer care and support for one another. To this woven tapestry that we are creating, we first offered our names. Such a simple act. But names are important because they reflect our identity. They are what we are called, what we respond to, and how we understand ourselves. Our names carry deep personal, cultural, familial, and historic meaning. To willingly offer our name is, in many ways, an act of both trust and risk. Last Sunday, we shared words of gratitude, especially for the ministry and presence among us of Pastor Tom Hostetler as he moves into retirement. And after the service, I spent a little time reading some of the comments that were offered. They made my heart sing, not only because they captured the substance and character of Tom so well, but also because they were so generous and wonderfully affirming. In her book, Why Not Me?, the comedian and actor Mindy Kaling said that, quote, "Gratitude is the closest thing to beauty manifested in an emotion." Gratitude is the closest thing to beauty manifested in an emotion. Weaving these statements of gratitude into this tapestry, as Sarah Davis so generously did this morning, offers a visual reminder of the beauty and kindness of this community as we engage one another and the world. For it was you who formed my inward parts. You wove me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. That I know very well. For all the glory of the psalmist's poetry, life still has a way of battering these bodies of ours that are so fearfully and wonderfully made. There are disappointments, losses, failures, betrayals, fights. Relationships are broken, trust gets frayed, and our bodies themselves often bear the marks of scars, wounds, sicknesses, and even death. It can be a hard and sometimes frightening world. And maybe it is because of that very reality that the psalmist makes an almost bizarre switch in the closing verses of the psalm. After such a deep, deep affirmation of God's creating and sustaining and wonderful presence, we read, "Oh, that you would kill the wicked, O God, and that the bloodthirsty would depart from me, those who speak of you maliciously and lift themselves up against you for evil. Do I not hate those who hate you, O Lord? And do I not loathe those who rise up against you? I hate them with perfect hatred. I count them my enemies." Wow, like what a way to kill a moment. Yet there is something about the rawness and sheer audacity of this claim by the psalmist that is downright fascinating in a twisted kind of way. My personal enemies are your personal enemies, and your enemies are my enemies, and we are together in this, the psalmist proclaims to God. It has the feel almost of a middle school adolescent assertion of buddyhood, and in that sense, almost veers towards the comedic. In thinking about it, I wonder if this bizarre juxtaposition of awe and bravado in Psalm 139 is really a reflection of the challenge and messiness of simply trying to understand and grasp what it means to be fearfully and wonderfully made and to be known so completely by God. There is such a great strength and power in being so carefully created and woven together, yet also a deep vulnerability in being so known, including all of our imperfections and stumblings. Given the magnitude and implications of these contrasts, how should we respond? What might we expect? How do we situate ourselves in the world? While I do not particularly care for the psalmist's response, on some level, I think I can understand it. You know, one of the gifts of a healthy community is that it can be a place where we can wrestle together with what it means to be fearfully and wonderfully made and known in our completeness, to be seen and to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, the things that have brought us great pain, and that which has caused unabashed joy. A community where we can bring our strengths and our weaknesses, our fears, our doubts and certainties, our deepest identities, our griefs and sorrows, our created passions, and even our pettiness. Well, maybe not so much pettiness, but it is a place where we can bring our whole selves and know that we have value and worth, have intrinsic meaning and something to contribute simply because we understand that we and each person here has been fearfully and wonderfully made by God. Such a community requires risk and trust and no small dash of faith. You know, recently I had a lovely conversation with Doug Bro, in which he was extolling the wonders of the state of Nebraska, where he lived at some point in his growing up years. He reminded me that the great American novelist Willa Cather had spent much of her young life in Nebraska and was claimed and beloved by that state. Now, I confess that I remain skeptical about the allures of a Nebraskan life. After all, this is the state whose state tourism slogan is, and I kid you not, Nebraska. Honestly, it's not for everyone. One ad features a group of people floating down a narrow, muddy river in a huge livestock tank. Honestly, it's not for everyone. While I have no intention of packing up for Omaha, the conversation did lead me to read one of Willa Cather's books, Death Comes for the Archbishop. Cather's description of the New Mexico landscape where the book is mostly set is simply stunning. She is a beautiful, beautiful writer. The story itself focuses primarily on the long friendship of two French priests, Jean-Marie Latour and Joseph Vaillant, who were sent to New Mexico as missionaries in the early 1800s. In one of the exchanges between the two, Father Vaillant expresses an eagerness to make a pilgrimage to a shrine where the Mother of God was said to have miraculously appeared. Bishop Latour is less enthusiastic, and he says to Father Joseph, "Where there is great love, there are always miracles. One might say that an apparition is human vision corrected by divine love. I do not see you as you really are, Joseph. I see you through my affection for you. The miracles of the church seem to me to rest not so much upon faces or voices or healing power coming suddenly near to us from afar off, but upon our perceptions being made finer, so that for a moment our eyes can see and our ears can hear what is there about us always." This morning, as part of our weaving series, you're invited to offer a symbol, a prayer, a thought that helps our perceptions to be made finer about who each of us is here in this congregation, and so that we might see each other with affection. Think for just a moment about the experiences, the identities, the delights, the hurts that shape and have shaped who you are. If you brought a symbol or something with you, you're invited to bring that forward. Otherwise, on the tables in front here, there are some items that may speak to you, and so you're invited to look and see if something captures your imagination. If so, pick it up, and you can either weave it into the tapestry here with Sarah's help, or place it in the basket there where it will be woven later into the design. And there are also some paper strips where you may write maybe some words that say something about who you are. And these offerings will be woven into our tapestry so that it might fully reflect the goodness and depth of our life together. And so I invite us to be in a time of exploration.
We're so glad that you listened to the message today. If you're looking for an open and affirming, peace-loving, and justice-seeking congregation, consider visiting us for in-person worship on Sundays at 9:30 a.m. We'd love to meet you.